Hello, thank you for joining us today. We have been waiting for this opportunity to have our friends on the other side of the ocean to be with us here today. We have Paul and Tim, and they're with Sincerely Paul, and they are our destination specialists for the UK. And we've had a lot of opportunities to work together, and the creativity that Paul and Tim provide really allows our clients to have a more VIP, customized experience based on their travel needs and what's important to them. And I really want to say to Paul and Tim, what an amazing experience it was working with you on our itineraries leading up to the pandemic. But more importantly, the efforts that you provided and the flexibility that you offered us was just amazing. Our clients, unfortunately, their trips were canceled, but you quickly refunded them, no problem, and said, you know what, we'll look forward to booking these trips again when your clients are able to travel. So we really want to say thank you for being industry leaders throughout this pandemic, and you certainly have definitely been always top on our list. So thanks again. And we're really excited to talk about really what it is Sincerely Paul can provide our travelers, and from the logistics, but also from the standpoint of you truly have a way of creating experiences that are so unique to the destinations that you service, as well as providing local experiences to our travelers. So thank you for joining us today.
You're very welcome. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I'm Paul, the owner of Sincerely Paul, and Tim is my general manager, who's worked for me for almost 100 years, I think.
It seems like it sometimes.
So I have a short
It's so great to have you guys on. Thank you again for joining.
No, thank you. It's great. We've always loved working with you, and we always will be great supporters. And I'm grateful for the words, during those difficult times. But the good times are going to come back. So I have a brief presentation. Shall I start that now? Okay. So we just to give you sort of an outline, really, my company, we're now 15 years and it's since we formed, and I was previously a head concierge at some of the leading hotels in London, including the Savoy and the Dorchester, before starting up and then joining Signature. We do a lot of fun stuff. We cover the whole of the UK, and I'm just going to zip through some of the slides that we offer. So just briefly skating on the COVID issue, is that we were awarded what's called Good to Go by Visit England, which basically it's an official UK mark, which basically tells us that we have all our suppliers, and we've gone through the processes and protocols to keep social distancing and various other measures in place. With all our partners, we've always gone through a very selective process, even before the pandemic, and we're more detailed now as we continue to go with that. We have ongoing discussions with various establishments just to make sure, as and when everything opens up, we'll be ready to go. So let's get to some of the fun stuff. A variety of different services. This is an important one, even more important, I think, in the future, our VIP meet and greet. We have our own people at all the major airports throughout the UK, where we can meet you direct from the gate and escort you through to your driver. These are the cars we used to have. We don't have them anymore, though, so you can choose your own vehicle. So no, we have our own fleet of vehicles as well. So we have Mercedes, minivans, coaches, Vianos, sedans, to airports and seaport transfers. On the more luxury level, Range Rovers, Rolls-Royce Phantom, and the Bentley as well. Driver protocols are all in place as well, with perspex shields, drivers wear masks, etc. So they're all trained in the latest hygiene protocols. We have over 250 of our blue badge guides. There are 3,000 in the UK, but over the years we've interviewed everyone that we work with, myself, Tim, and Sandrine, covering a whole variety of different aspects of what they offer.
So, Paul, I think that, just going back to the blue badge guides for a second, I think that's a really unique concept in the UK. I haven't really necessarily heard of that in other countries. Can you just touch on the difference between, a regular guide who maybe is, a full-time college student working in the summer as a guide versus a blue badge guide? Like, what is the difference? There's obviously going to be a price difference, but what is the difference in the experience of having a blue badge guide versus having, you know, just a guide who might be hobbyist or part-time or even a full-time guide?
Sure. Well, it takes, first of all, 2 years to qualify as a full-time as a guide. And a lot of these people have left jobs to make this their profession. It used to be, I'd say 20 odd years ago, it would be somebody that would be retired that would then want to do something in the twilight years. Whereas now you have a lot more young, energized people coming from different professions, you know, whether it's the legal, whether a lot of actors, you know, which are very animated in their touring. And not everyone passes. They only qualify about 60 a year. And it's very, very in-depth and intense in terms of the training. We do work with local people too. I mean, you know, and that's obviously a different price point. So for example, I'll touch on the Cotswolds a bit later on, where we work with local people up there because we find them to be a little bit more innovative. And when you don't have large cities, you want to work with local people. But when it comes to people that, if a client has a specific interest, whether it's the history of art or whether it's something food or gastro, or they want to understand a little bit more about Jewish London or historic parts of Edinburgh, we would engage a proper guide for that. And we pay them top dollar effectively because we want them to provide the service. So there are, as I said, we got 250. I mean, these guys, sometimes when I interview them, I think they're interviewing me because they're so intelligent. Hope that answers your question. So with these guides, and we've got them all around the UK, we do often provide a lot of family experiences. Here's an example where in London, for example, you've got a picture on the top right, one of the beefeaters with one of our clients' children. We like to get, you know, nice pictures taken with people. We'll really fully immerse our clients in these different experiences. This is a great special tour behind the scenes of the house. So this is a private tour before it's open to the public, where we go to the household Cavalry, which is just not far from Buckingham Palace. We get some great photo opportunities here. This was taken just over a year ago. So you get the kids get dressed up in uniforms, and then when the horse guards come out, we get the best view to see them and get some great picture opportunities. Remember the Italian job? Well, this is our version of it, the iconic British car where we hire these minis and we zip around the city, and that's a whole lot of fun. Harry Potter obviously is still hugely popular. We have very special access to the Warner Brothers Studios, the platform 9 3/4 at King's Cross. We have fast track into that, and it makes it a lot easier. And we've got, again, going back to our Blue Badge guides, we have a handful of guides that have seen every movie, every book, and bring out a whole vast variety of. One of them even dresses up as Harry Potter, just to make it a little bit more fun. For those people that are interested in the military, obviously a lot of history for there. You know, the Churchill War Rooms on the top left, we get to sit on Churchill's chair. We can do this privately before it's open to the public. HMS Belfast and the Imperial War Museum. Again, a little bit more edgy, street art in the East End of London. It's a lot of interesting street art which is developed. It's a whole redeveloped area. And we have guides that will take us around there. We can even participate in the actual, you can actually paint some of the walls with a trained guide. Obviously, eventually, the new movie, No Time to Die, will come out. It's been put back already twice. 3 of our guides are specific James Bond. One of them was in both Spectre and Skyfall as an extra. So we kind of, for people of interest, we just take them around and we put them on the speedboats, go by MI5 building, Bond in Motion, which is where all the Bond vehicles are kept in Covent Garden. We'll do a private tour of there as well. So some of the fun stuff for the kids, often we find if you want to do a historical day, children get bored very easy. So we do a lot of fun things. So we've got chocolate workshops, honey making experiences. We go to this great lollipop masterclass. It takes about an hour and a half where you can make lollipops and candy and all sorts of fun things there.
Can I do this tour? I love it.
I've done it 15 times. I love it. I love it. No, it's a lot of fun. So you might all of a sudden, we found, if you're doing a tour of the British Museum, which is very interesting, all of a sudden my guide might say, okay, who wants to go make lollipops? Of course, the kids always put their hands up and then off we go make lollipops for an hour and a half, and then we zip off to somewhere else in the city. For the adults, craft beer discovery, which is over by Borough Market. We go into these breweries. We have tastings of craft beer, and there's gin experience called From Grain to Glass. Again, also in the Borough Market area. And that's where it's obviously more of an adult experience, but it's kind of fun because there's a real gin revolution going on, certainly in the UK. For Him and Her, Perfume Florist is in St. James's, where we will, again, have a private experience there where the perfumist will have a consultation and then produce Him and Her's fragrance specifically for them, which is kind of neat. Specialist art galleries behind the scenes. This picture here, this is one of my representatives in the West Coast, Joanna Heathcote. But we'll go behind the snes of some of the art galleries as well. Some of the special visits, the exclusive ones, I love aerial views of London personally, knowing it so well. So we'll have the helicopter tours, which takes about 60 minutes, where you can see the whole of the city. We will go to Hampton Court on the rooftop there. We also hire those carriages there, which are kind of fun in the summertime. And then some of the privileged access, the ceremony of the keys. Again, we have great access to that. That's when they lock up the Tower of London. And we'll get there and we'll have a little tour with a Beefeater, with the rooftop tours we've done. And then we'll also have a Crown Jewels pre and post. So before it's open in the morning or in the evening when it's closed, we can have a private view to the Jewel House. And Stonehenge, the inner circle access as well. So that's obviously at dawn or dusk, where we'll get there, but there's only about 50 people, which is kind of neat. We are an event ticket specialist. We're quite known for that. Obviously, Wimbledon's very big when it's on. NFL. I never thought 5 years ago I'd be talking about NFL in the UK, but we cancel or leave, don't we, Tim? When the NFL's in town, it's just like incredible. We get all sorts of things going on. But some of the theatres, the image on the bottom right there is what we do. A lot of the theatres where we have what we call the royal box in the theatre, and you'll be met by red coat butlers, and you'll be served like champagne, canopies, and etc. And it's a very nice bespoke experience. We've got a great association with Chelsea Football Club, one of the leading Premiership football clubs. Not just for the tickets for the match, but for the backstage, for the access to meet the players. So when the Premiership's on, all the clubs, they work with us. They understand what I do. They understand what you do. They understand what the clients are looking for. And you can meet, let's say, the current players, some retired players. And you can have a lot of fun with that. Absolutely.
That sounds like such a great experience for like soccer fans and families who are traveling together with kids, and kids who are playing soccer and are in tournaments, to get to go and meet these elite players. Like, that just seems like such a once in a lifetime opportunity. And I think that's just speaks to how highly respected your team is if they're open to introducing their players and giving up their time and allowing this private access. I just love that idea. That just sounds like so fun to me.
Well, it is, and it's we incorporate that sometimes into, as I said, a typical highlights of London tour. You'd hit you'd go to Westminster Abbey, the Tower. You'd go to maybe one of the British Museums, see the changing of the guard. But sometimes clients want to do something slightly different. So we'll give this as an option. Say, okay, well, let's go 30 minutes down into Chelsea and we'll do a tour there. And it kind of breaks it up. Then we go and make lollipops, which is even more fun. This is kind of new. It started just over a year ago. These are beautiful steam trains. I kind of describe it almost like as an economical Orient Express. And they go from around the country. These pictures I took myself on one of the first trains that went out from Waterloo Station, which took a 4-hour journey. It costs, I think, something like £400 approximately, but it's just a beautiful experience in an old train. And they stop off at an old station about an hour outside London for photo opportunities. You can get inside the train. You can meet the chap that's driving the train, or the captain, and it's a lot of fun, very interesting. And you get some great pictures. This is one of the ones in Scotland, which is also the Glenfinnan Viaduct, which is famous for Harry Potter. But we introduced that just over a year ago and proved to be very popular. So, Kent is a lot of castles and stately homes. We have Chartwell, Leeds Castle, Dover Castle, which, again, we do day tours from the city. Obviously, Downton Abbey was very, very popular and still is. Highclere Castle, we have access every day it's open to the public, even if it's sold out. We have tickets for it. We provide a very nice experience where we'll go to the village of Bampton, where it was filmed, and then we'll go to the castle, and then we'll have lunch in a local pub, which is rather splendid. The Cotswolds is an area which it's about an hour and a half, 2 hours from London, and it's an area which I particularly like. We work with, as I mentioned before, with the Blue Badge guides, but we work with a lot of local people in the area. One of our key friends now has one of the largest farms there, and he provides a whole variety of experiences. This is a picture, there's me on the bottom left there when we went off to see some cheese making. This is one of the smallest cheese makers in the UK, but they still supply the likes of Selfridges and Harrods. But it was a wonderful experience just to see. It only takes about an hour to go inside there. And then we'll go off, and this is on his farm where we took some pictures of some falconry. The bottom left, we're going back to the Harry Potter theme, which features owls. They'll even put a ring on the owl, and the owl will fly down with the ring, and it's all kind of it's a lot of fun. We'll visit some stately homes. This is one just outside Broadway, where you'll get in and go inside, and you'll meet the owner. You'll have afternoon tea there, and you'll get to see the art. It's kind of surreal, but it's beautiful. And the picture on the right there was taken in the summer. And they've got this massive fountain outside there, which was beautiful.
So, Paul, for people that aren't familiar with the Cotswolds, is it a region? Is it a group of towns, villages? Can you just really quickly just explain what the Cotswolds are?
Sure. Well, the Cotswolds is a region stretching from Oxford to Stratford-upon-Avon, and about 45 miles either side of that. Its circumference is about 80 miles. There are no major roads going through it. There are no freeways. There are no highways. It's just small little roads. They have a lot of the villages are made of a specific stone known as Cotswold stone, and a lot of the fences, the walls are all made of specifically from the stone. It's very pretty. It's very green. It's just not particularly. There are some places which are touristy, like maybe Stratford-upon-Avon and Warwick Castle, which is obviously famous for Shakespeare and the castle itself. We go further in depth to that. So the places that we go to, you'll find on the internet. You won't find it anywhere else, for that matter. And we befriended a guy with his farm, and we helped him, with investment to sort of explore different experiences. The picture here, for example, with the sheepdogs, is the guy that owns the sheepdogs is the UK's leading national champion. He owns this, and I went there. There's me. So I took those pictures, and you get to see the 7 different levels. I love dogs, but I don't have any dogs. But I didn't know, is this going to be fun or not? Oh, you've got a doggy. There's a doggy there. Well, I didn't know. I said, how much fun can a sheepdog experience be? Well, I can tell you something. It's amazing, because you start with the puppies on the left there, and you get to play with the puppies. And and the picture at the top left is the sheepdog that won the national UK championship. And you see how they're trained. Then you go to the different levels. It's just quite extraordinary, and character as well. And the owner of the sheepdogs, he takes you into his house. He's got pictures and paintings of all the dogs he's had, all the winners that he's had. And you're sitting with a local, but someone that knows all about it. He controls the dogs by the whistles. Just absolutely amazing.
You know what I love, Paul, is the fact that this is not something that you would, find in a typical guidebook, like top, 10 things to see in London, top 10 things to see in the UK, top 10 dates. These are such unique, curated experiences. And I love that, because for me, that's what travel is all about. Of course, I love, my kids love the Tower of London, and they love the London Eye. And we did all of those regular tourist things. But the things that for us that we really remember, that they really remember, are these unique experiences that they don't feel like everyone else is doing. Correct. And I just love that, because it gives you a true sense of place, and it really connects you with the local people, helps you understand how they live, where their customs and traditions come from, the history of the place. And I think that that's just what makes these types of experiences so special and, priceless. I
agree. And I have to tell you, I'm converted. I would talk to my friends in the Cotswolds, and we would come up with different ideas. And he said to me, how about a blacksmith? So I said, I've never been to a blacksmith. I didn't know that they still existed. I thought that was in the sort of like 16th century. Anyway, we went to see this guy here. There's a picture of me with him. And I was intrigued by it. And again, as part of our experiences, you'll go to the blacksmith, you'll see the forging, and you'll make little trinkets, or you'll make a little candlestick, which you get to take home with you at the end of it. So, they're just small, immersive experiences with the people that are professionals. And the blacksmith, I had said to him, look, because it's in the middle of nowhere, it's in a cul-de-sac, you wouldn't find it. I said, who's your main business? He said, it's the movie industry. He said, when they're filming Robin Hood or something like that, I make the bow and arrows, that's what I do. And it is. So, and I appreciate you saying that, because it means a lot. It's for me, it's very important that we, between myself and Tim, we're always looking for new ideas, looking for people that are creative. And I think it's important, I've experienced them all, and, I come back and I've been, very much supportive of it, and they've just grown. It's just grown. Just moving on. I mean, we've got we cover the whole of the UK. We go off. This is obviously Devon and Cornwall. Some great images there. The top right, famous for Doc Martin in Port Isaac, Tintagel. We've got the Jurassic Coast as well. Lake District is often when we're touring up from England up into Scotland, we try and stop at the Lake District. The picture on the left there is Lake Windermere, and you've got Keswick as well. Again, beautiful open spaces for people that like walking, hiking. We can hire electric bikes at times when we can zip around if we're staying in. And there's some absolutely stunning hotels up there as well. Scotland.
It looks like the scene from a movie. It doesn't even look real. I've been watching Outlander. I'm hooked on Outlander, and so it makes me want to go to Scotland. And those stones look like the stones from Outlander. It looks magical and just storybook and so beautiful.
We do a very popular Outlander tour as well. So we can, next time you're there, we can whisk you away, and you can be in the same places.
Oh my God!
Colin, Tim, I want you to help kind of really inspire and give us some ideas, especially for families that would be traveling. We are based in Phoenix, Arizona, and there are very, very few direct flights other than the flight to London. So we have a lot of our families spending 2-3 days in London, and the thought should really be, why wouldn't you spend more time and really explore the UK? So what would be some suggested itineraries for a family, and how many days do you think that they should allow if they're going to extend their stay to include, let's say, another destination like, Bath or Cotswold into their itinerary? What would you recommend?
Typically speaking, if people spend 7 days, now that could be based in London for 3 days, and then you visit other elements of England. It's probably, unless you fly up, for example, so you could spend 3 days in London and do a couple of day trips and see some nice things, and then fly up to Edinburgh and then see parts of Scotland. Obviously, if you spend longer, you see more. But I think 7 days would cover it if you do that. Now, if you are going to just have a driver for the whole time and then really see parts of the country that you wouldn't necessarily see else at the time, then you'd need to spend a little bit longer, maybe 10 days. And that's not unusual in the summertime when people will come and spend that amount of time. And we are obviously allowed to, when people are staying, especially if you're staying in a country house hotel that has beautiful spas, etc., take the foot off the accelerator, and then people just enjoy that. And then we'll pick up clients up a couple of days later, and then we'll continue on. So, for example, people might arrive into London, spend 3 days in London, then we will take them out to the Cotswolds, and we'll spend a couple of days in the Cotswolds. We'll do 1 day where we'll do the touring, and the next day the clients would just stay in the hotel, whether it's in a village or whether it's a country house hotel. And then the next day we pick them up and then drive up to Scotland, but we go via the Lake District. It's a long day, but it's a beautiful day, and you see some amazing scenery. Some clients do stop over in the Lake District for a night just to break it up. It takes about 3 hours, and then you move on to Edinburgh, and then you base yourself there. And then, Scotland itself, arguably people will sometimes just fly to Scotland for 7 days and just see Scotland, because there is so much to see. Edinburgh itself is I mean, here we've got the castle, Rosslyn Chapel, Holyrood House. There's so much to see and do there. But I think if you're really going to do the destination justice, a minimum of 7 days. And needless to say, I do know a lot of our clients are on a European trip. So that might mean they don't have that length of time to do. So they may just fly in and spend the time in London or Edinburgh and then move on to other destinations in Europe. But if you're going to spend time and focus on one country and have a specific interest, or if you don't, we'll give you a specific interest, whether it's genealogy, whether it's history, whether it's art. We have the people that can sort of glue all that together and make it interesting and fun. But we talk about multi-generational families, and I think as people get older and they want to travel more, you know, it is part of education, but it's also making it fun for the client too. So that's when it comes back to our Blue Badge guides. You know, we want people that are going to make it interesting, you know, that they're going to have a lot of fun with it. So I hope that answers the question. But we work around, as you already know, how long people have got to spend. We will put together what we think is doable, achievable, which is interesting, and we can make it as much fun as possible.
Okay, now that looks like scenes from Outlander. That's magnificent. I think you muted yourself, Paul.
Some people might say that's a good thing. So yes, you're quite right. They've been filmed in all these locations. You've got Loch Ness. You have Glencoe, which was also there's been many film locations. The Cairngorms, Loch Lomond. A lot of clients. I think when you go to Scotland as well, get out of the city. Once you've seen Edinburgh, or unless you have an interest in other cities, and go and see the country. It's quite raw. In the summer, it's absolutely beautiful. You can't guarantee great weather, but you don't come to the UK for weather. I think you've got it probably warm enough in Arizona. But it's very pretty, and we really like to showcase the beautiful parts and give clients the time to enjoy it and immerse themselves in it. Whether it's visiting some of the castles, so some of these castles are beautiful. Dotted around, we will, you know, Blair Athol. You've got a variety. I mean, there are something like more castles in Scotland than there are anywhere else in the world. But we'll do private visits. We'll have opportunities to meet the owners of the castles. We'll walk around to the gardens. We'll go onto the lakes if they've got lakes on their boats. So we really like to sort of like open everything up. Scotland's favourite drink is whiskey, of course. I'm not particularly a whiskey drinker, but I went a year ago to I think 7 distilleries, and I have to say I was amazed that one on the bottom left there is the smallest one, smallest distillery I would do. I mean, it's quite amazing. There were some the private experiences, the private tastings that you can have. I mean, everyone's, you know, a lot of people have obviously been to the likes of Napa, Sonoma, or they've been off to Italy and France. But the whiskey tasting itself, the experiences, how the processes are, how it's explained to you by professionals. How, again, these are just local people, but they really do bring it to life and make it very, very appealing. One other thing, I mean, needless to say, we have been asked for private residences because people wanting to stay away from hotels, perhaps. So these are 4 examples of some of the residences that people have inquired about. So it's just something to put out there that if you have a family, I wouldn't suggest this is for 2 people, because they're more like, I think some of these have got 18 bedrooms, so it might be a bit too big. But these are opportunities, which is a new area which we've evolved into as well. We work with Access. I think you may know that. I don't know if you work with Access. I'll just tell you that one. Something which we started this well before pandemic, but we give clients, advisors, the opportunity to, if they want to link us in like this, for example, which is brilliant, but you can Zoom with us, you can Skype with us, we can happy to talk through itineraries, to give people reassurance, or to give, you know, even if you just want to phone up and say hello. But this is something which we have been doing now for just over a year, and it's been very successful. You know our payment system. It's simple. It's straightforward. It's secure. We're what's called PCI standard. We do get reviewed a lot, and I have no control over it, but our reviews are always 100%. You're a testimony to that, thankfully. And it's just what people talk about our guides, their experiences, etc., because we work so hard on it as well. And that's it from me. I'm going to be quiet for a moment to just bring in Tim, because he's been very quiet over there, and I know he wants to say something. And then, obviously, if you've got questions and answers after that, we'll both happily answer them. Over to you, Mr. Tim.
Thank you very much, Paul. For a moment there, I thought you might have forgotten me. So, well, good morning, everyone in the States. Just to reiterate a couple of things that Paul has said. One of the reasons that we love dealing with BTA is that you guys obviously know your clients, and when you come to us, you give us exactly what they want, and we will try and mold around it. And as you'll know from experience, if we can't do something, we'll tell you, and if we can, hopefully we can. None of our tours are off the shelf. Everything is bespoke. So everything that we do is crafted from the moment you get in touch with us to the moment the client leaves, and in between. Nothing is too much trouble for us. Should they wish to change something whilst they're here, again, we will do everything we can to minimize the impact, and we'll do what they want. Just touching quickly on Scotland, one of the other areas that we find works well with Scotland, and a lot of clients do, is that they either start off in Scotland and then go to Ireland, or vice versa. That fits in very, very well. Also in Scotland, which we didn't have on there in the slides, is that we can do, as Angie knows, as with the COVALs rather, we can do adventure trips, we can do hiking, which can include camping out if they really want to do something like that. We can arrange salmon fishing if it's in season, or at least some sort of course fishing. So there's a lot of outdoorsy things that we can do in Scotland. Paul's mentioned the whiskey, of course, and there are a few of the distilleries, the smaller ones like Aberdeen that Paul mentioned, where we can do a special private experience where they will actually be hands-on, so they can actually help make some of the whiskey, and they'll be given a small bottle to take away with them, not to be opened for about 10 years or something. But a lot of hiking, as I think I've mentioned.
Great golf.
Well, I wasn't going to say that because everybody knows the golf. I mean, yes, the golf is obviously the paramount. We this year, or it would have been last year, but this year now, we do have a golfing contact. We've never done tee times and booking golf before because it's been so difficult. We've spent a lot of time trying to find the right people to deal with. Rather like with our guides and our drivers, we won't just use anyone, and we won't just go there and say, willy-nilly, can you help us? Can you do this? We meet everyone. And it's taken us a while to find this gentleman. He is very into golf. He's got all the contacts. The old course is still a difficult one for everybody, so much so that they've now only accepting ballots. But in saying that, there are small chances that we can do that, but it's not something I would go out of our way and say, hey guys, we can do the old course. It's still very up and down. Not sure what else to say now. I think just going on back to Scotland. A lot of people have ancestors that come from Scotland in the States. We have quite a few genealogy experts up there. We have access to the smallest library in Scotland that ironically holds most of that sort of research. So with a bit of notice, if they're coming, we can start the process, and when they get here, they can then follow the tour around, and the tour would start off with where their family comes from, follow how they may have moved around Scotland, show them the evidence. I did one 2 years ago where we actually tracked a family that went over on the Mayflower, and which was absolutely amazing. I mean, I found it really amazing to do. So, you know, nothing is too much trouble. As I say, we will always be open and frank with you, as I hope you already realise. If we can, we can. If we can't, we will tell you straight away we can't. So there's no, oh, we'll see what we can do, or we'll bend this round. We don't work like that, as you know. Much more than that, I think Paul has hogged all my limelight, so he's taken all the chat away from me. But just going back quickly to how I started, the best thing with a travel advisor, and Paul said earlier on why we like dealing with travel advisors, you know, why we love you guys, is that you know your clients, you speak to them, you say to them, right, what would you like? They give you a list, you come to us and say, can we do this? And it makes our life a lot easier. You'd be surprised how many times we don't get that information. It's just, I've got a family coming for 5 days, what can you do? Well, we need a bit more information, and it saves all the going backwards and forwards, and it makes it smoother for you, and it makes it smoother for us. And at the outset, or at the end, it's the guest that's always paramount, and we will always, you know, the guest is king or queen.
Correct.
And Tim, I know you and I have worked on some multi-gen travelers where there's 4 and 5 families. And I think you touched on a really good point. When you're dealing with larger groups, you have to deal with a lot of different personalities as well as interests. And you and I really created opportunities to divide and conquer amongst the group, where some days we had half the group on a Harry Potter exploration, and then we had the older adults attending, you know, a whiskey tasting. So not only is it important to look at the itinerary and ways to modify it to accommodate groups of people, but you also find guides and drivers that fit well with the personalities of our clients. And some people like to move at a faster pace. Some of our clients want more of a historical type experience, and they expect more of almost like a lecture being provided to them, and others want a little more flexibility and a balance between how much sightseeing they do and how much activity and adventure that they incorporate. So hands down, you guys do a fantastic job of using your intuition to pair our clients with your different guides that have been with you for years to know which personalities and styles of travel complement each other. So thank you.
No, it's a pleasure, and I think it's very important to us. We try and pair every tour we do, no matter who it is, to the right guide. So we get an idea of the personalities from what they're asking, or direct from the agents. And the same with our drivers. We try, you know, even for a transfer, we try and get, you know, the right driver for the right people, as bizarre as it may sound. But that is part and parcel of what we at Sincerely Paul do and are known for. I mean, the Koval family, to point as you just mentioned, I mean, that was a delight to work on. And it was interesting because, as you said, you had the older parts of the family and the younger parts of the family, and you know, making sure they both had fun at the same time was brilliant. And so I think we managed to get it. I was just looking just now, you know, with the various things that we'd done for them, and hopefully they'll come and do it, because I say it's a marvelous trip.
And I'll share, because I'm not sure if everyone realizes how close. You had mentioned putting together an itinerary that includes both Scotland and Ireland. When I was in Northern Ireland, I felt like I could almost swim across the channel to Scotland. It's really that close.
No, it is. It's very, very close. You can travel from Belfast to Scotland. You can even travel from Dublin by boat, both by boat, or you can also fly. And the boats are very, very fast, and we can pick you up at the port and start the touring around on the east side. So we can go from the east side, we can go to Mullintyre, we can go to Skye to begin with, and then move across, you know, Glasgow. We can do Stirling, and then carry on across towards Edinburgh. God, I couldn't think of the name of the place then. And started from there. So they could do 4 days in Ireland, and then 4 or 5 days in Scotland, and that makes a very good tour because they're very similar but completely different. It's quite amazing and well worth doing.
So next time Angie's there, you'll arrange a tour for her to swim across the English Channel.
I've already made a note of it, Janet.
We'll start training now, and then I'll row beside her and make sure she doesn't drown.
Janet likes to push me when it comes to sports a little bit.
What's life if you're not pushing yourself, right?
I told her I'm not going to run with her anymore. She makes me run too fast. I like long distance. She likes short distance. So we don't make for the best running buddies. Good business partners, but not the best running buddies.
That's why she's perfect to swim the English Channel. She could just go forever. You guys, this was so wonderful. I mean, we just appreciate you guys so much. I'm sitting here just daydreaming about my trip. I'm already in my mind planning my Scotland itinerary. I haven't actually even been to Scotland personally. That's one of the countries that's been on my list for a long time. And I really want to bring my kids. They're complaining that they haven't been to Europe in a year and a half because normally they're used to hopping on planes and jet setting, and we've all been pretty homebound. So I know I can speak for myself when I say I cannot wait to travel and get back to Europe. I miss Europe terribly. I think that, in the US, we obviously have so many beautiful places, and we've been lucky enough to explore, some of our, states in the West, and, we have gorgeous mountains and beautiful lakes and scenery and ocean, but there's nothing quite like the history and charm and culture of Europe. It just, you can't replicate it. And those authentic villages and towns that have, history going back thousands of years, and castles that were built, almost 1,000 years ago, we just don't have that here. And I think, for families, and especially for educational purposes for children, whether you're trying to teach them or not, when you travel with them to these destinations, they're learning, they're absorbing, and it's priceless. For me, it's priceless. So I'm so grateful for you guys, and I can't wait until we can get our clients back there. We can get back there, maybe go to a pub and have a pint.
Most definitely. How old are your children, Janet, may I ask?
Mine are 10 and 12.
I mean, so there is so much that they would enjoy about Scotland. You were saying about visiting, and I'm surprised you've never been there, because that is the ideal age. They would have so much fun with the castles, and and all of our guides, when they're talking to the children, they don't talk at them, they talk with them. They're all very family orientated, so the kids are all learning about the history without knowing it. And some of the castles, a lot of the children over from the States find it quite amazing that some of the castles are older than America, right, which is quite amazing. When for their heads to get around, you think, wow, that's.
I remember even like my kids were, we've traveled quite a bit. They're very, very privileged. I think my kids have been to almost 20 countries, but even just being in London, they felt it. Like, we were in the Tower of London, and they're like, wait, is this where this event happened and this event happened? And they remember things that they had learned in school that I thought they had never even paid attention to. And like, suddenly history really comes alive, and it's so magical to watch. And I think as a parent, for me, traveling with my kids and seeing the world through their eyes makes it that much more enjoyable, that much more memorable. And people used to say to me when my kids were really little, like, why do you bother traveling with them? It's such a hassle and a headache, and it's expensive. And I was like, it's priceless. For me, it's amazing because they absorb it. They love it. They go with the flow. My kids have been to castles all over Europe, and I have pictures where they're like, my husband's carrying my daughter on one shoulder in fireman's carry, and the other kid on the other shoulder, walking up a castle. And we have those memories forever. So for anyone who's interested in exploring and wonders if their kids are going to really appreciate it, that's a question that we get a lot. Like, will my kids really appreciate this? Will they get bored? All they want to do is sit on their phone and text and message with their friends and WhatsApp and Snapchat. And, when they're immersed in that environment, they're engaged. It pulls them in, like it or not. I don't care. I mean, even the most, social media obsessed teenager, if you're in a castle somewhere in England or in Scotland, or you're learning this history and you're walking along these like ancient roads, I mean, I think it just pulls you in and engages you and allows families to create those connections that are hard to do when you're just at home living your busy, chaotic life.
And sometimes I think that families worry. I think we oftentimes worry about the logistics of traveling, and I find that happens to be the family moments where my kids actually have the most fun. I mean, last year we had taken a train from Paris to the south of France, and my kids loved it. They enjoyed that downtime. They enjoyed seeing the countryside. So sometimes the logistics end up being, you know, the time that the kids really enjoy and they're able to process. And by all means, from London and Edinburgh, there's so many different routes you can take to visit these charming little towns and villages. So very fun for families and obviously fun for adults.
Yeah, what I'd add to that is that
sorry, you go ahead, son.
Yeah, what I would add to that is that my team are really passionate about what we do. We talk about it all the time. We explore, we find solutions. So yeah, we like doing the easy things, but we love doing the harder things. And we want to be creative, and we constantly want to sort of like unlock the doors so we could just see what's behind there, and then say, okay, wow, is this going to work? Okay, well, let's try it. You know, and that's literally. And the reason that started was, again, going back to Signature, was when they invited me as a destination specialist. You know, I do this, and then a lot of the advisors would say, can you do that? And I'd say, well, I don't know, but I'll find out. And we ended up just building this massive portfolio of these different experiences. And not everybody wants to do that. And obviously, sometimes it's cost associated, but it just enabled me and Tim and the rest of the team to sort of create and open these doors for people. And I think it's fair to say a lot of the suppliers like working with us because we're fair to them, and we're very open. We have a lot of fun. You know, we're serious, but not all the time. I tend to be the joker of the company, but there we go. But I think it's important, you know, because we have busy, sometimes stressful lives. But I think once the planning of the itinerary starts and is put together, then we have to execute that and then follow that through. And I think we're very thorough in terms of making sure people are where they are and they're well briefed, and that everyone is in the same place. But of course, we know, as in the nature of our business, sometimes things change halfway through and someone wants to change something, and we just say, okay, right, well, let's change it then. At the end of the day, well, that's what we're here for. So we are extremely flexible, as I think you already know, but we do put an awful lot of energy and effort into it. Normally it's this time of year, you know, which is usually the quieter time, that we start to put together new ideas, new thoughts, new itineraries, and we roll those out. And we continue to do it. And the same thing for the ticket suppliers and the events that are coming up. And we try to get access. We buy tickets in advance, or we have secured access to certain times for different, whether it's a soccer match or whether it's something else. So we do. We work hard at it, but our office is quite dynamic, and we often talk and share ideas. And if someone's doing something which is new or they've not tried before, then we'll explore that as well. So, but no, we love working with travel advisors, and we will continue to do so. And you guys have been absolutely fantastic, and we've loved this live streaming. This is just so wonderful, very cool.
Thank you so much for joining us. And if anyone has any comments or they're watching on the replay, share your comments and we'll certainly get back to you. And Tim and Paul, thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure. It's lovely to have spoken with you today.
Thank you so much.
I loved it. Thank you guys so much. And we can't wait to see you in person, hopefully soon.
Yeah, soon. Okay.
Look forward
Stay
to
healthy.
it.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Bye.
Bye.
Thanks again. Bye.